Khrushchev doesn't write letters, he talks.
Right.
He marches back and forth talking. Somebody takes these notes in Russian. Somebody types them up in Russian. It's taken at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow and translated.
It comes in on teletype, but what happened is the ordering of the pages gets mixed up. It turns out once they actually get it in order and are able to read it, I mean, it's an incredibly passionate letter. Basically, the idea is they find in there the language that says maybe there's a way out. What they can do is pledge to not invade Cuba, and therefore there would be no need for these weapons that are only there to protect Cuba from being invaded by the U.S., and then it would be a face-saving way for the Soviet Union to be able to take their weapons out.
And just as they convince themselves that this is the solution to the crisis, they go home and go to bed, and they come in the next morning, and the New York Times on page 1 is printing another letter that they have not gotten by any private means, and it says, well, the thing we told you about yesterday, that's still true, but we want more. We want a public trade of missiles. We'll trade our Cuban missiles for your Turkish missiles. Kennedy says, well, look, if one letter comes privately and one letter comes publicly so that the entire world knows about it, you got to ignore the private one because this is public.
But the key intervention then that Llewellyn Thompson makes is to tell Kennedy that based on his understanding of Khrushchev, don't give up on that first message. That basically if Khrushchev can work a deal that says we've, protected Cuba, that in fact they will be able to give Khrushchev enough space to take those missiles out. I think the key thing you want to understand with Kennedy is he's not going to have a war. Now, he's a politician, so he'd love it if he can not have a war and not have to give up a lot and pay a lot politically for it. Thompson's given him that avenue, but it's important to understand he's willing to take some heat to not have a war.